my channel. If you're new here, my name is Samantha. I am a home daycare provider, a mommy to 5, and on this channel I try to give you guys as much information about running a home daycare as possible. So before I get started, I'm in the same outfit I was in either my last video or my next video. That's just life. My kids are out of the house and I am trying to film as much as I can, and I didn't feel like changing. The hair has coconut oil in it. Sorry, didn't feel like looking pretty today, I guess. Anyway, so we're back with our Daycare 101. I have no idea what episode this is. I think it's 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 4. Today we're gonna talk about paperwork, and by paperwork I mean our contract and our handbook. This is essential to your business. Do not start a daycare, do not open a daycare, do not accept any clients without having a handbook and a contract. I am telling you, you will regret it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So we're gonna get started. Now, some people combine their contract and their handbook. Some people have them separate. I have them separate. I have a contract that my parents fill out whenever they enroll their child, and I have a handbook that has all of my policies in it. Everything, I mean, any question under the sun. I believe my handbook is about 17 pages and worth every single minute that I had to spend writing it. So in my contract, I have all of my super important information. So I have my contracted hours, what days you're gonna be here, what times you're gonna be here. I have my my rates, when you're gonna pay me, and things like that. And then in the 3rd, 4th, 5th pages of my handbook, I have each of the sections from, I'm already confusing you, I'm sorry. In the 3rd, 4th, and 5th pages of my contract, I have each section of my handbook listed in there, and they have to initial to tell me that they have read each portion of my handbook. So that is what my contract is. It's basically just agreeing to everything that I put in my handbook and giving me all the information that I need as far as this is when you're paying, this is what your rate is, this is the days that your child is going to be enrolled here, etc., and so on. So that's what that is. We're going to talk about policies and procedures. I have done a video like this before, and it's very popular, but I thought I'd just update it, do another one. So in my handbook, the very first page just has my cover just has my daycare logo, my name, my address, my phone number, things like that. On the 2nd page, I have something called an intro page, and it basically has my daycare philosophy. I'm also introducing myself. I give them information about my children, about my family, like how many kids I have, we have a dog, where we live, what our background is as far as my education background or my what I've done in the past, what jobs I've had and things like that, and what my experience is. So that just kind of gives them a little overview of who I am. Then we go into my hours. So this is something you're gonna have to decide. How much do you wanna work? How many hours a day do you particularly want to work? I am open from 7 to 5:30 every single day. It is a long, long day, let me tell you. I have heard daycare providers who are open 24 hours. I have heard daycare providers who are open, 5:30 to 6:30. You kind of have to decide what works best for you. I personally think 12 hours is a super long day. I'm open, 11 and a half? Is that right? 10 and a half? I don't know, something like that. But I'm open a long time. I do take a child before 7, so it's a super long day for me. You really need to decide when you want to begin work and when you want to end work, and keep it firm, keep it at that. So figure out your hours, what works best for you. If your kids have after school activities or you have maybe church at night or whatever, decide what you want to do, what days you want to work, Monday through Friday, if you want to offer weekend care. I know some providers are Monday through Thursday, they close on Fridays. Completely up to you, figure out what works best for you. Then you're gonna decide on how you want to be paid. You're gonna decide on your rate. Obviously, we've done our research. You kind of should know at this point how much you're gonna want to charge. So you're gonna decide on your rate, and you're gonna decide how you want to be paid and when you want to be paid. Now, do not skip over this. Ask to be paid ahead of time. Do not allow a child to come into your care without payment. Do not say, payment is due Friday, the Friday after you have already cared for these children, because I'm telling you, at some point, there are tons of wonderful families out there. My families are all wonderful. I've not run into this problem with my current families. They have been awesome. But at some point, you're gonna run into somebody who's not so awesome and who's gonna get ticked off about something, and they're gonna leave, and you're gonna be missing a week of payment. So I highly, highly, highly suggest you get paid before you render care. You know, when you go to the doctor's office, they normally make you pay first. Whenever you go, you know, wherever, most people make you pay before the service is rendered. So I highly suggest you get paid first. And then I would also tell them how you want to be paid. So are you going to accept checks? Are you going to accept cash? Do you want to be paid via like a Cash App, like Venmo or Zelle, or I don't know what the other ones are, but or PayPal or something, or do you want to go through KidCare? Do you want to go through Brightwheel? There's many, many different payment options. So let them know what your preferred method of payment is and give them a few options. Don't be so rigid on, I have to be paid this way. I would definitely give them a little bit of leniency, because I feel like you are more apt to get paid when it is convenient for them, when it is the most convenient for them, or when they have various options. Also, make sure that you let them know if a bounce check occurs or something like that. You have a policy for that. I have a 2 bounced check limit, and after that you have to pay me in cash. And that's just the way that it is. So definitely figure out your payment, figure out how you want to be paid, how often you want to be paid. Do you want to get paid once a month? Do you want to get paid bi-weekly? Do you want to get paid weekly? Completely up to you. Now, I would highly suggest that you work with your parents, because some people get paid every 2 weeks, some people get paid twice a month, some people get paid monthly, some people get paid weekly. And sometimes it's easier for them to pay on the days that they get paid. So try and work that out with them and figure out what works best for each individual family. That's my suggestion. You don't have to do that, but that's my suggestion. The next thing you're gonna wanna have in your handbook, you don't have to put them in this order, but I'm just letting you know, are your vacations, holidays, vacations, sick days, those sort of things. If you're gonna take holidays off, are they paid? Are they unpaid? I take paid holidays. I have also implemented paid vacation for myself. And then you want to decide on like your daycare kids vacation time, because people go on vacation. How much notice do they need to give you, and do they need to pay? So I give my parents 2 free weeks every single year for them to take vacation. They do have to give me notice. I require 2 weeks
that's
notice.
just how I do it.
And I feel that's kind of fair, I guess. And then I also give them 3 sick days where they can let me know 24 hours or the night before, and then they don't have to pay for that next day. So they get that every year. That works best for me, and my parents seem to think that's fair, and they don't kind of cause a fuss about my paid vacation or paid holidays. So have a section for that, your holidays, your closings, things like that, and let them know in advance. I make a yearly calendar in January. It has all my closings, all my professional development days, any party days, anything like that. I have all that in a calendar that I send out. Someone has asked me to do a tutorial on that, and I will certainly get to that, so I can show you how to make that on PowerPoint. Sorry, I have my notes here. The next thing you want to put in your handbook is your sickness policy, your illnesses, your symptoms, what you're going to exclude for, what you're not going to exclude for. Do they need a doctor's note to return? Before you create this section, check with your state, because I know different states have different requirements. We have to exclude for certain things, and we have a time that we have to exclude, a certain limit. In the state of Texas, sometimes they have to return with a doctor's note, etc., and so on. So create a policy that works for you. When you create this policy, you better stick with it. Do not veer from this policy, because I'm telling you, you will regret it. Do not let a child come with a rash or with a slight fever or whatever because mom said, oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just this. Don't do it. If you put the policy in place, implement the policy. So that is my little spiel on your illness policy. You also want to have a little blurb in there about people not following your illness policy. So people who kind of drug and drop, where they give you Tylenol, or they give their child Tylenol and then they drop them off at your house, and around 11 or 12, little Johnny has a fever. Again, so definitely have a policy about that. That's immediate termination for my families. I've never had that problem, luckily, but it can definitely happen, and it puts the other children in your care at risk of being infected, because Tylenol is obviously not treating the illness, it's treating the symptoms. So that's my spiel on that. You also want to have a little section in there about safe sleep. In the state of Texas, we're required to have a safe sleep policy. We cannot have blankets or passies with stuffed animals or bottles or anything like that. We have to lay children on their back. They have to sleep in a crib or a pack and play. They may not sleep in their car seat or a rocker or swing or anything like that. So I have to put that policy in there. If a parent disagrees with that, they can fill out a safe sleep exception, and their doctor also has to sign that and give that to me, but I do have to have that section. You also want to have a discipline policy in there, how you're going to handle different discrepancies amongst the children, different behaviors. If you use timeout, if you use, I don't know, whatever you use, you want to put that in there and let parents know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what you're going to exclude for, biting, excessive hitting, excessive violence, foul language, like what are you going to exclude for, and what your policy is on those sort of things. You never, ever, ever want to enroll a family and then, they hear little Johnny was in timeout and they're like, whoa, we don't do timeout. They need to know how you discipline or how you guide these children whenever they're making some, or, exhibiting unsavory behaviors. You want to make sure that they know your policy and they're in agreement with that policy. You also want to have a section in there for potty training. This is such a topic amongst daycare providers. Potty training is a hot topic. So you need to know how you plan to potty train the children in your care and what your policy is. Now, I do not start potty training for kids until the parents have started it at home and they are successful at home. It's not fair to me to send their kid here and say, I need them to be potty trained. That's not my job. It's not my job as their daycare provider to be the sole one that's potty training them. It has to happen at home as well. So you are a partnership, you are a team, and you guys need to work together. You need to work with the parents together to figure out the right system for potty training. But it's very important that you have something in your handbook that explains how you do potty training and what your expectations are of the parents as well as the child. How many days do they need to be accident free? Do you use pull-ups? Do you strictly use underwear? And how, when you think that they're ready, they need to be able to pull up their pants. They need to be able to verbally tell you that they need to go potty. I've said it before in previous videos, but parents think that their child is potty trained when they go to the potty, when their parents put them on the potty and tell them to go to the potty. That is not potty trained. Potty trained is when a child can tell you that they need to go to the potty, whether it's sign language, whether they are verbally telling you, whether they are pointing to the potty, or just physically taking themselves to the potty. Potty training is not after they've already used their diaper and they're telling you that they pooped or they're telling you that they peed. They're not ready. That's not ready. They need to be able to feel when they need to go potty, and they need to be able to communicate that to you. You know, even if a child's nonverbal or whatever, there are many different ways that they can tell you that they need to go potty. Sign language, physically just taking you to the potty, telling them they need to go, or telling you that they need to go. The child needs to be initiating, and they need to be ready to communicate that with you. I have parents that have said, take them every 15 minutes. Well, that's not potty trained. Your child's not potty trained if you have to take them every 15 minutes. So that's my spiel on that. Make sure a child's ready, or you are going to be in for a world of headaches. So have a policy about potty training. You want to have a little blurb about house rules, what you expect. I have a rule about when parents are here, they're in charge of their kid, period. I'm not in charge of your kid when you're here, so you need to keep them under control. If they're out on my driveway, if they're out in my yard, don't let them be picking up everything. Don't let them be ripping up my yard. Don't let them be scratching my car. Like, keep a hold of your child. Don't let them be running in the street, etc. and so on. That's not my job. Once you're here, they are yours. So there you go. The next thing that I would have in your handbook is a little sheet about activities and what your daily schedule will look like. I always put that is subject to change according to the group that I have, according to their interests at that time, according to the weather, how they're behaving that day. If they're feeling extra tired, we may do nap time early. If they're super energetic, we may do nap time later. We may do more gross motor, or we may do whatever it may be. So just have a general idea so parents can have a little outline of what your day is going to be like. The next thing that you want to have in your handbook is something about birthdays and holidays. So there are many different religions out there, many different beliefs out there. You want to put in there what you do for holidays. So I personally celebrate all of the Christian holidays. We do Easter, we do Christmas, we do all of those things. So we're not like a Christian daycare. We do Santa Claus, we do all that, but I like to put that out there because there are definitely people who wouldn't want their child to participate in that. So have a policy in there about what you would do. I exclude children for that day. If we're having a Christmas party and the parents don't want their child to partake in the Christmas party, they would just need to find alternative care for that day. The next thing that you want to do is have a sheet about your meals, what your expectations are. Can parents bring an alternative meal for their kid? Do you allow substitutions? How you go about that? I know I have one family whose children are a little bit picky, and mom will bring something, and I'm fine with that. I don't care as long as it's not a bunch of junk. But just have a little, maybe one or two word sentence about that. You also want to have something in there about your nap and rest time. Rest time is required here. A 2-hour rest time is required. I need the break. They need the break. Whether they sleep or not, they are on their mats, and we are having quiet time for 2 hours. So you also want to have something in your handbook about authorized pickups. How you're going to go about making sure that the right people are picking up. I take a copy of their license, and that is put in their file. They also have to be on their paperwork. And in my authorized pickup sheet, I have a space for their driver's license number. So parents are required to get that number when they enroll. That way I can match it up when they bring their ID. So I have that. So definitely have something in there about that. If somebody comes under the influence or smelling of alcohol or drugs or something like that, how you'll handle that. Are you going to release them? Are you going to ask for an alternative pickup? How are you going to do that? In custody arrangements, you definitely need to have court orders because sometimes people get hot and they're like, I don't want dad picking them up. Well, if the court order says that dad's allowed to pick them up, then dad's allowed to pick them up until another court order is provided. So don't get in the middle of all that drama. Make sure you have legal documents, court order, paperwork in hand. And then I would have a little section with your emergency plan. You want them to know what you're going to do in case of an emergency. In case of inclement weather, if you live in a snowy area, do you close when the school's closed? Do you open late? How are you going to tell parents about that on that day? If you get a foot of snow, are you going to text everyone? Are you going to put it on the news channel, like how they scroll through the schools? How are you going to do that? So that is, I would definitely have a section for weather related closings or delays. The next thing that I would have in there is a confidentiality agreement. I asked my parents not to discuss rates, not to discuss those other children as far as negatively between each other. My majority of my parents pay the same rates, but in the future, if I have new parents come in, I may charge a higher rate. If I'm trying to adjust my rates, I may charge a higher rate to an incoming family and then adjust the rest of my families later in the year, or grandfather my other families in. But you don't want any sort of you don't want them talking about that sort of thing, because that can create animosity and it can create a lot of issues for you. So just ask them to be confidential about those sort of agreements. If you have a family that gets to come a little bit early because that's what you've agreed to, just ask them, just keep it confidential. This is between us. As far as health and things like that, if, a mom comes and little Johnny, who's not her child, is throwing up, make sure she's not going and texting all the other moms, oh, Johnny was throwing up, oh, so-and-so was sick and they were at daycare. Just try to keep it professional. Try to have your parents keep it professional. So I definitely have something in there about that. And then you want to have a termination policy, why you would terminate. First of all, you need to know why you would terminate, who can terminate the contract, how they need to go about terminating the contract, how much notice they need about terminating the contract, and what the plan of action would be. Do you require 2 weeks pay? Do you require 2 weeks notice? What is it going to be? So I would definitely have something in there about that. And then I would also have something in there about if the contract's not followed, that you will take them to court over the broken contract to, retrieve your funds. And then I always have something in my handbook about an adjustment period. Not every kid is a good fit, and you want to have a period a period of time where either party can pull out of the contract if it's not working for you, or if it's not working for the parents, or if the child's just not happy. Don't take it hard on yourself. Not every kid is a good fit. So I would definitely have something in your contract about that, or in your handbook about that. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's basically what I have in my handbook. I know this was kind of just me word vomiting to you, but that's just what I do. So I'm going to put a list down below of all the things that you should probably have in your handbook. It's going to be in my TPT store. It will probably be a freebie again. Just a very brief list of what you need to have, just a little checklist so you can, make sure you get that handbook together. If you need any help, please let me know. And I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it wasn't too much of me just vomiting to you. And I hope you were able to get some good ideas. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
Let's just do what you want to. Please don't be polite, cause I like your attitude. Let's forget about a curfew, cause all that is stuck in my head.